Hello and welcome back to this video. Now today we'll be talking about how to install Git, a version control tool that is used by many developers, and I'll be taking you through step by step from downloading Git to installation to configuration and ensuring that you are good and ready to go. Now I will open VS Code as you can see, and ensure that Git is not currently installed in my system, because that is the whole point installing Git. And as you can see in my terminal, I will try to check whether Git exists, so that if it does not exist, we will go on and install Git. Now I'm typing Git version, and this is basically a command that is used to check what version of Git you are currently using. Now expect it to throw an error because Git is not currently installed in my system. Now it is taking a while, and results are back. You can see that Git is not recognized, so the system does not currently have Git installed. So this is basically how you check whether a tool is installed in your system. So first, I will open Google Chrome and search for Git. Git is something you need to actually download, and this is me searching for Git, and uh, results are in, and a minute. Git, Git, and here are the results. Git, yeah, this is Git. You should just type Git, and hopefully you'll land in this page. And I need you to download, uh, because I'm currently using Windows, so I will download the Git Windows version. If you are using another operating system, there is a way of still installing Git in that operating system. Now it's downloading. It's about 28 MBs. It's not large. So as Git is installing, and maybe for the beginners, Git is very important. If you don't know Git, you cannot use GitHub effectively. You cannot use GitHub effectively because GitHub is built on this tool. This tool is very important, and it is one of the stepping stones to becoming a developer. In short, it helps you uh, control versioning. For example, you are in version 1.1.1 and you decide to add some new features. You see, there is still need to preserve the old history. Now, this is where Git comes in. It helps you track how you are actually doing things, and it is very effective. I think of all the algorithms I've ever seen, this is one of the most powerful algorithm that exists. Now, Git is done installing, and I'll take you through the process of uh, it's done downloading it. I take you through the process of installing it in your system. So go to your download folder, and you hope you find Git installed. And what I need you to do is open Git. Just double click it, or right click and hit open. Now, as you can see, mine is opening and it's taking quite some time. This is because the machine I'm using does not have a lot of computing power. This is because I'm recording and I'm recording, and at the same time I am uh, I am doing this. So it can bring some conflict, and that conflict is the one that is causing my machine to slow down, because the software I'm using for recording is utilizing a lot of GPU power. So I need you to hit next, and hit next. Don't check anything. Just hit next. Next, 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 next. Hit next, next, next. And oh, okay, here you need to select your editor. But you can just hit next, but I just select. Does not make a difference here. Just select Visual Studio Code as GIT's default editor. So don't worry about this. It's not that complicated. It's very easy. So hit next. After that is done, hit next. And okay, you can override the default branch name for new repositories. And this is a setting that you can just let it be whatever it is, but I just call it production because I like my oh, let me call it master. Master is GitHub's default uh, branch for new repositories. So don't worry about this. You can just hit next, and yeah, next. We need to hit next. Hit next, next. Of course, when you are installing this thing, you can just hit next to the end. It does not have, it cannot affect you in any way. Just next, 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 next. Even the settings I've added, those are, you can just hit next and still be fine. Eh? So it has begun the process of installing, and this process of installing it might take some time, because as you can see, I'm recording at high quality at the same time I'm installing something else, and this is why it is taking such a long time. And because actually even the machine I'm using, it's not that it's not that powerful. So you need to you need to support me. You need to give me work so that I can procure some good machines. This is how it installs, and oh, it's taking a lot of time. A lot of time. Oh my god. Oh my god. But anyway, this is the whole point. Take you through the whole process of doing this thing without skipping anything. It's like being in your shoes, helping you do things the way they are supposed to be done. Because actually, in the beginning, when I started this journey for web development, I used to find some videos that, yes, the video has what you want, but it skips some steps, and you just find yourself frustrated because maybe the the person that was guiding you decides to skip something because it is irrelevant. So this video, and in my videos, I'll be making sure that I leave nothing behind, so that whatever I teach you is what you get. There is no need to go and search for another process somewhere, because this one is comprehensive. Okay, as you can see, Git is actually one of my most, this is if you don't know Git, eh, then you don't know programming. That is my reasoning. If you cannot use Git, then you cannot successfully ship a software. Because how will you tell people, oh, You see, in every, even in every app, in every software you use, you always find that that software has some version attached to it, you know. And maybe if you are not using Git, you just have one straight line, eh? You just have one branch, and you just posting everything in there without considering how how the software can be dynamic. You know, you can add some feature, and then 5 years later you need to pull back that feature. Okay, so if you're not using version control, how do you convince me that that you'll be able to pull out features, eh? You see, so Git is very important, and it helps the software grow dynamically. Okay, let me look at my task manager and see what's happening. What is happening? What is happening? Why is my machine so slow? Okay, okay. Here's my task manager before it installs, eh? And of course, you can see that the software I'm using to to record, OBS Studio, is consuming a lot of memory. It's consuming a lot of GPU, eh? And I think if you look at maybe Google Chrome, it's not consume. My machine has like 8 gigs of RAM, and maybe if I try to sort it out and see, you can see that, oh, LinkedIn is consuming what? Okay, let me end this LinkedIn because I'm not using it. It's consuming my RAM. Okay, you can see Visual Studio Code is consuming quite a decent amount of memory, and when I try to find where is that recording software, oh, it's in the GPU section. GPU, you can see that in the GPU section it's consuming like 66% of my GPU, and and uh, and 78.46. Oh, okay. hmm Okay, now you can see OBS Studio consuming even 70% of my GPU. This is because it's a graphics. It's a it is rendering some graphics. Now I think it is done installing, and we should go right at it and configure this tool. And yeah. Okay, let me see what is happening. Okay, it's done. I don't need to view release notes, so I just uncheck that box and click finish. So now that we have Git successfully installed in our system, so we should proceed to configure Git, because installing is not enough. That is not the end. You need to point it to some few places, eh? And for you to get it working, eh, you need to link it with your GitHub account. And that is very important, because how can you use Git without GitHub? Okay, because these two go together, eh? So I will try to reopen Visual Studio Code and rerun the command that I had run at the beginning, checking whether Git exists in my system. So there is a quick way of finding out, and you can just go and look at the available terminals, and if you see Git there, then you know that it is installed. If you see Git, then you know that it is done, it is installed. You can see that Git bash. You see that Git bash? Oh, that means that Git is in our system. Git is in our system right now. Git is in our system. So what we need to do is just check whether it exists. But we know it exists already. So here's a command for checking whether um, I'm in the right version of Git, in the latest version of Git. So as you can see, I'm in version 2.51.0, and that means that Git is successfully installed. I can also test this using PowerShell, run the same command, and hopefully find out the same information. Git is successfully installed in my system. Okay, Git is successfully installed, but we need, this is not all. We still need to do some configuration, and this configuration will come in handy, especially when linking Git to GitHub. Now realize that Git and GitHub are two different things. These are two different things because GitHub is built on top of Git. So if you so that is some very simple information. So first things first, if you don't have a GitHub account, go and create one account with GitHub, because this is very important. For me, I actually have an account. This is actually the part. You don't need somebody to coach you through creating a GitHub account. If you want to become a developer, then you can do that by your own because it's easy, self-explanatory. Okay. Now for me, I just sign in. I just sign in to my GitHub account. But for you, if you don't have a GitHub account, kindly create one GitHub account, and hopefully we'll land in the same GitHub dashboard where we'll have a lot of things that we need to do before we can start using Git. Okay. Now for me, I will just log in with Google because I have GitHub connected to my Google account. So there is no need for me to enter my username and password. So just hit continue with Google. Very effective. Very, very effective. So when I hit continue with Google, and I will need to provide a key using my authenticator app. Okay, when you configure your GitHub account, uh, it will reach a point when they will ask you to add an authenticator app. So me, I use Google Authenticator because it helps me generate these codes very fast and log in without having to enter my password. So that is my code, and I am in my GitHub dashboard. Hopefully yours should look exactly like this, and this is how basically your GitHub looks like. I can just go to my profile and you can see what is actually happening in my profile page. I have added some information about myself, what I do, and don't worry if you find no history in my GitHub account. Mark my words, I know Git, but I have no history. I cannot prove it, but I understand Git and GitHub. I've been using GitHub for the past 2 years. I've been over tens of accounts, creating accounts after another, deleting. You know, I've never sticked to one account. This is how it looks like, and first, I need us to create a new repository in GitHub. We are creating a new repository in GitHub. Now, this repository will help us configure Git in our local machine. This will help us configure Git in our local machine. So I need you to create a repository called Git. This is just a dummy repository. Maybe somewhere along the line I will delete this repository. Okay, just do what I am doing and create it, because for us to link us to link Git and GitHub, there needs to be a repository in between. There need to be a repository in between for us to make sure that Git is successfully installed in our machine, and we can actually push changes to GitHub and hopefully begin version control. Okay, so I think it is done. It's a public repository. If you need it to be private, no problem. If you need to add some of these readme.git ignore and license files, no problem. For me, I just create the repository. Now, this repository, I need you to note that it does not have any file. This is what an empty Git repository looks like. And I'll be pulling this repository to my local machine, and we'll be adding something to it and getting back here and seeing what it actually looks like. Okay, and seeing what it actually looks like. Now, open Visual Studio Code, and when you open this tool, now in the past you used to set up Git manually, but this thing has come and I believe it's time for some things to be automated, for us to focus on development, not on configuration of these complex tools. And hopefully I'll take you through my process. Though it's not standard, but it works. When something works, it does not matter how it has been done, provided it works. Now, I could take you through the details of installing Git, the documentation way, of configuring Git the documentation way, but I believe I'm talking to newbies and I don't need to burden you with a lot of technical jargon. So let us begin. First, I need to relaunch the terminals because something has changed, and that is why the terminals had an error. So what we need to do, we just close this we just close this tab and open a new one. This is how it will look like when I close this and open a new one. This is how it will look like when you freshly open Visual Studio Code. This is mostly the most default page for everyone, the landing page, I mean, for everyone. This is the landing page. This is how it looks like, and hopefully yours will look like this too. Okay, now I need you to click on that clone git repository, that link there, this one. Just click on it. So we are telling Visual Studio Code, I need you to clone some repository somewhere in GitHub. Okay, I need you to remember, Visual Studio Code does not know who it is talking to. So I still need to set up Visual Studio Code to know my identity and connect it with GitHub. So when I tell it to clone, it will tell me that I need to sign in first. I need to sign in first to GitHub and click that, and hopefully I will give it access to my GitHub account. You see, I just authorize it. Now it knows who it is dealing with. Okay? It knows who it is dealing with, and when I tell it to pull something from GitHub, it will pull from my own account. This is how it is built to identify me easily. Okay, just do what I'm doing, and hopefully you can see my repositories have popped up on the top bar, and I just click the git repository that I've created. This one is just testing repo to help us configure Git locally. So now I'm pulling that repository from GitHub. Okay, and I will be putting it in my desktop. So this is much easier than using the terminal to pull things from GitHub and all that back and forth. It's very complicated, especially for beginners. And I believe even advanced people, you don't need to get yourself in the hassle of typing stuff in the terminal when you can just do it automatically. So now it is cloning my Git repository from GitHub, and this is what we wanted. eh? And by doing that, we've made sure that Visual Studio knows us and it has pulled something from GitHub. Okay. Now, this is what the repository looks like. As you can see in the Explorer section, my GitHub, my Git repository is empty. There is nothing in here. Nothing. There is nothing in here. So, as you can see in my desktop, that is the folder. That is what I've pulled from GitHub, and it has created a folder. So I just open it with Visual Studio Code. As you can see, that is why it is very important to know how to use some of these tools. Now I'm opening the repository using using Visual Studio Code. Okay. Now for me, I like to have this layout different. I like the Explorer section to be on my right side, and at the top here you can see some few settings, and I just adjust for it to look how I like. Okay. I'm adjusting, and basically as you continue to follow the content that I'll be producing, I get to a point where I'll have to explain Visual Studio Code in depth. Now, I need us to create a readme file, readme.md. This is a markdown file that I need us to create. And inside this markdown file, you can add anything, literally anything, just for it to have some content to simulate how you code. Imagine this is a JavaScript file or a Python file. It needs to have something inside. So now we are adding some content inside, and hopefully this file will be recognized by Git. Git now will note that in this repository something has changed. A new file has popped up, and it needs to track that file. It needs to say that here is the file that has been added, and these are the contents that have been added. Okay. Now, as I was saying previously, I will be doing a video explaining Visual Studio Code in depth, and from basic beginner to advanced levels, where you know how to to use this tool like a pro. Okay. Now, as you can see, uh, Git has detected some changes, and it is literally saying that there is a new file that is called readme.md. Now, when you are pushing something to GitHub, you need to you need to like tell Git that this is what I've done, and these are the changes that have been made. So that is called a commit message. I'm writing a commit message in a style, a convention that is called convention commit guide, and this is pretty standard and best when, especially when you're writing commit messages, and I'll not get into depth into this convention of writing commit messages, but you can just write anything there. But this is my style of doing it, and I like it. And when I click on commit, this is what it's telling me, that I need first to stage the changes. Stage the changes. So for me, I not get into the terminal thing of staging and doing all that. We just do it on the tool. This is why I like Visual Studio Code. You don't need to get into depth into the knowledge of Git. It is already integrated in the it is already integrated in the editor. Now you see that plus thing that is next to changes. That is the one that is used to stage. And when you are staging, you are telling Git that, hey, here are the changes I want to push. You can leave some behind and push others. Okay. When I hit commit, now this is where the Git configuration comes in. It's telling me that my username and email are not provided. So even though Visual Studio Code knows me, Git does not know me. So I need to provide it with that information. This is the little part that we'll have to open the terminal and configure that manually and hope that we not get back to that terminal to configure anything else, of which there might be some few ups and downs, and you might find yourself back in that terminal. But I'll show you everything how it is done, and if you want to get into depth, now that I will leave to you, eh, to go and learn Git in depth. But what I'll be showing you is is standard, and with the information I will provide you, you will not find yourself facing challenges if you do exactly as I say. If you do exactly as I say, you'll not find yourself in problems, in trouble, because note that I've been doing this for a long time, and I know the I know the pitfalls. So do it exactly as I'm telling you, and hopefully you save yourself a lot of time. Okay. Now, as you can see, I'm just staging some changes, telling it now. Uh, this is what I've added. Kindly stage it to be pushed to GitHub. Okay. But it's still bringing the same error. These are things that we need to configure: username and email. Tell Git that this is my GitHub username and this is my email. Kindly use these details to to attach them to the commit messages, so that when we send something to Git will know me. Okay. As you can see in my GitHub account, I'm trying to help you find out where your username is, where your email is. Even when you can look at the top search bar of the browser, you can just find your username there. Okay. If you need to find your email, you can just go to settings and find your email there, the email you used to sign in or to register with GitHub. Okay, note that these emails, you can add a lot of emails, but there is that main one that you use. That main email that you use is what is required, plus your username. Okay, username and email. As you can see that I have my email here, that public email. That email is the one that is needed. That email is the one that is required by Git in order in order to set up Git locally. That is the information that needs to be provided so that GitHub can know from whom the commit is coming from. Okay, from whom the commit is coming from. So maybe if you want to change your username, this is where you can come and change your username. If you don't like the one you have, you can change your username there. And if you want to stick to your username, you can just use the one that you have. You can use the one that already exists. And as you can see, on top of the search bar, your username will always be there. When you go to your profile, your username will always be there at the top here. That is where your username will be. That is your GitHub username. That is the username that is required by Git for it to pair it with to send it back to GitHub with the commit message, so that when GitHub sees the commit message, it is like this message has come from so and so. Okay. Now note that. Okay, let us get down to the terminal. As you can see, where I'm clicking, you look at my mouse well, where I am clicking, and you just need to open a new terminal. I hope it is not that difficult to open a terminal. And here is the command that you need to type to set up git config global. You are telling GitHub to configure globally that your username is so and so. Okay. Okay, git config global user.name. For me, it's Kithaka, and and we are going now to set our email. Okay, I think that is how you set your username. Now let us set our email. We are saying git config global email kithaka@gmail.com. Now this is my email. Now you use your own email. This is mine. Now by doing that, Git knows exactly what it is dealing with. And hopefully when we click on commit, our changes will go direct. Okay. Now having set up that, let us go back to and try to commit again, and try to throw that commit. Not yet, not yet. Let me tell you, not yet. You've not successfully configured Git. Now you still need to give Git access to your repository in one way or the other. But as you can see, I can try to change my default branch before publishing anything on GitHub. And I can just call it master. Master is Git's default branch. You can do that easily as I have done it. And let us try to publish it and see what will happen. Now, as you can see, it is taking quite some time. And this is mainly because you see the way we gave Visual Studio access to our GitHub account. We need to give Git the same access. So hopefully it will just pop up and we just click and all will be well. All will be well and good. I call this process block after block, stumbling block after stumbling block. This is how you actually learn how to do these things. I'm not about to remove some blocks on your way. You must encounter them for you to understand them. As you can see at the bottom, Git is popping up something, and when you click it, you just sign in with your browser. It's basically giving Git access to your GitHub. Okay, and when you click on that, it will be authorized to access your GitHub account and repositories, and hopefully you will hopefully you will okay, my machine was dying. I needed to go and get the charger, so I had paused the recording. So what I was saying is that now that we've successfully granted Git the necessary permissions to to access GitHub, it will then allow us to publish something to our GitHub repository, to push those changes to the GitHub repository. Now, as you can see, we are publishing those changes. It can take some time because remember, my machine has some problem with processing. So now you can just say yes to or no. Let us put it at no, to periodically look at fetch whether there are changes that have been made online in the GitHub account. So as you can see in my repositories part, the Git repository now has content. We have successfully pushed something to the GitHub repository, and you can see exactly what is happening inside the README. Whatever we have added now appears here, and you can see the commit that we've added. You can see the commit, and hopefully if you open that commit, you will you'll be able to see what was added. You'll be able to see what was added, and you can just look at the diff. You can just look at the diff down there and maybe leave a leave a comment to mark that as successfully completed. Now you are able to push changes from your local machine to GitHub. Okay, thank you, and hopefully you can see that this commit is unverified. Keep your eyes peeled for the next video. I'll be showing you how to always send verified commits from your local machine to GitHub, so that there is no doubt that it is indeed you that has sent the commits. Thank you for watching this video, and keep your eyes peeled for the next video. Until we meet again.